شعب
Whoa!
Well, unfortunately, war, destruction, hail and fury of strikes is going to be the focus right here on Blueprint Explosive Exclusive, and I'm Meghna Deka. Our focus continues to be, is the war on the brink of a World War III? Well, that's the question that we are going to be looking at. The visuals right there behind me. You'll remember, viewers, that Middle East seems to be inching closer towards a full-blown war, as Israel has now vowed to respond to the missile attacks by Iran, which took place last night. You can see the visuals there in the first topmost visuals of your screens. In fact, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called the act by Iran a big mistake. In fact, he has said that Iran will pay for it. Along with Israel, the US, remember, has also vowed consequences for Iran's attack on Israel. In fact, in response to the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, has said that all the conflicts in the Middle East will come to an end if United States and European countries stopped interfering and left West Asia alone. But look at the visuals here. This is why the entire world today is bracing itself for perhaps what some have called World War III. Well, soon after the missile attack, there were celebrations which took place in Iran. In fact, Palestinians expressed joy. Gaza backed the action of Iran, as well as many of the world leaders came out. However, they condemned Iran's action, urging an immediate halt to the escalation. Adding to the discourse, you had UN's Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who emphasized the urgent need for a ceasefire. But on your screens, you can see the visuals of the attack which happened, followed by celebrations which took place in Iran. It was almost like Diwali. There were firecrackers across Iran after these strikes which happened on Israel. Remember, close to 200 ballistic missiles were fired. However, you had the Iron Dome, the anti-missile defense system, as well as others such as David's Cross, as well as the Arrow, which had ensured that there was no fatalities on the side of Israel. Iraqi people here celebrating as well. These are the visuals coming in from Iraq. What happened across in Lebanon? And Lebanon also, the Palestinian camps came out, celebrated on the streets with the flags of Palestine. What was happening at the time of these air attacks across in Gaza? Gaza, of course, backed the attacks. There were prayers which were carried out in Gaza as well. You have Jordanians also expressing joy and celebrating after Israel was targeted by over 200 ballistic missiles. Here's how the world leaders have responded to the developing situation and the crisis in the Middle East. Remember, the battle lines are fast being drawn, and every nation is now picking sides. Watch this.
In my direction, the United States military actively supported the defense of Israel, and we're still assessing the impact. But based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective. And this is testament to Israeli military capability and U.S. military. It's also a testament to intensive planning between the United States and Israel to anticipate and defend against the brazen attack we expected. Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel.
I'm clear-eyed. Iran is a destabilizing, dangerous force in the Middle East, and today's attack on Israel only further demonstrates that fact. I fully support President Biden's order for the U.S. military to shoot down Iranian missiles targeting Israel, just as we did in April. We are still assessing the impact, but initial indications are that Israel, with our assistance, was able to defeat this attack.
But I utterly condemn this attempt by the Iranian regime to harm innocent Israelis, to escalate this incredibly dangerous situation. and push the region ever closer to the brink. Iran must stop these attacks, together with its proxies like Hezbollah.
We once again reiterate the call that we've made along with the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union, Italy, Germany, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, other nations as well, calling for a de-escalation.
イランによる攻撃はこれはもう認められるものではございません。厳しくこれを非難したいと思っておりますが、これが全面戦争に拡大することがないようによく連携を取ってまいりたいし、事態の沈静化に共に努めてまいりたいと考えておるところでございます。
However, there are others who are firmly opposing Israel, including Turkey, whose president, remember, has vowed to stand with and fight for the people of Lebanon. Watch some of these reactions as well.
Bedeli her ne olursa olsun, Türkiye, İsrail'in karşısında durmaya, dünyayı da bu onurlu duruşa çağırmaya devam edecek. Biz Türkiye ve Türk milleti olarak bu zor günlerinde Lübnanlı kardeşlerimizi asla yalnız bırakmayacak, tüm imkanlarımızla kendilerini destekleyeceğiz.
Well, of course, right now you have the world being divided as to which side they want to pick. US, of course, has rushed in its fighter jets as well as its troops on ground to give backup support to Israel. But others too have been picking sides, such as Turkey. But the big question, of course, will be what about nations such as Russia and China? While all of that happens, remember, there are neutral nations such as India who are still appealing for peace. They are saying that it is going to be dialogue and only that which can possibly ensure that the drums of war stop beating. Watch this response of India.
If one looks at the current situation, I think it would be right to start off with October 7th. We regard October 7th as a terrorist attack. We understand that Israel had a need to respond. But we also believe that any response by any country has to take into account international humanitarian law, that it must be careful about any damage or any implications for civilian populations, and that given what has happened in Gaza, it is important to have some kind of international humanitarian effort out there.
So, of course, now it all comes down to what happens from here onwards. Remember, both sides have dug in their heels. Neither is willing and relenting to blink. And Israel has vowed retaliation. On the other hand, you have Iran, which has said, if you dare to retaliate, then you are going to see a whole lot more pain. So what's next? We're going to be discussing all of this with our panelists. But before I do that, let me tell you how the world today is at war. Why is it? There are people such as Donald Trump, for example, who've come out and said, today we are on the brink of World War III. Well, let me explain. This is where the world stands today. The ones which have been marked out in blue are the nations which are backing Israel, and the ones which are marked out in red are the ones which are backing Iran in this entire war. And of course, India, the shining hope of peace for everyone, is yellow, which means it's the neutral country which has reached out to both the nations, saying only dialogue and diplomacy today can save the day. Let me tell you, these are the nations that you can see marked out. Let me first take you through the backers of Israel. You have UK, you have US, you have France, Japan and Germany, as well as Australia, who have openly come out and backed United Israel. On the other hand, the nations which are backing Iran are these right here, marked out in red. Of course, some of them have given open backing to Iran. There are others who have said or are likely to back Iran in the coming days. You have nations such as Turkey, you have Russia, you have Lebanon and Gaza, China also, which is one of the nations that we expect may just come out in Iran's favor. And then, of course, you have Yemen. So these are the nations, and this is where the world today stands when it comes to the brink of war. Let me go across to our panelists today. Joining us on the show, we have Daniel Karman, a former Israeli ambassador to India. We also have Burzin Wagmar from the Center for Iranian Studies at SOAS, University of London. I'm going to come to you first, Ambassador Karman, because it's important for us to understand the kind of escalation that we have seen since last night. And it seems that no side is willing to relent. How will this end? And if it is going to drag out, because you already have Iran warning Israel that if you dare retaliate, you are going to feel a pain much worse. You have Israel, which is saying that we are going to make sure that Iran is in pain at a time, whatever and whenever of our own choosing. This kind of escalation, the war of words also backed with ballistic attacks which are happening, where does it go from here onwards?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Will it go? It depends on the activity of the various players. I saw the list of countries that you enumerated for and against. I don't know how precise it is, but I was amazed to see the red. Looking at the countries, some of them are home to terrorism. Lebanon is the place conquered, or at least South Lebanon conquered, occupied by Hezbollah. Yemen with the Houthis, which endanger maritime transport. Gaza, which is not a country, but it's a stronghold of terrorism by Hamas. I mean, it's amazing to see who is backing, according to you, the other side. Now, where will it go? We don't know. But what should be done, I think, what should be done in this stage, after this very, very complicated escalation, which did not start yesterday. Yesterday was a peak. And we're talking about a year in which Israel is confronting 7 different fronts. 7 fronts, can you imagine? So what happened yesterday was a deterioration, an escalation, 181 ballistic missiles, very dangerous. Hopefully, any interception by Israeli technology was fine. I would not react seeing the damage here and there. The damage is zero. It's null compared to the number of ballistic missiles launched by a member state of the United Nations towards another member state. It's unbelievable, really unbelievable, very complicated. And Iran, and I, agree 100% with our government on this one, on this thing. Israel will have to retaliate or to answer. This cannot be unanswered, and Iran must pay a very heavy price for its attack on Israel. I wouldn't go as far as talking about a world war, but Iran will pay for what it did. It was warned by the international community. It did not listen to the international community. 10 million people within Israel yesterday were in shelters, including myself. I'm now in the shelter. And this cannot happen again.
Well, I think one thing that all of us can agree upon is how little United Nations has managed to do to ensure peace and stability in the region. But Burzin Wagmar, I'd like to come to you because as we are just speaking to the ambassador, he says the ones which are marked in red, I'm going to put back that map on our screen so that our viewers can also see it. The ones marked in red, some of the biggest question marks are going to be on Russia as well as China. A lot will depend on how these two nations deem fit to react in the coming days, isn't it, to ensure that there is de-escalation or perhaps even escalation, depending on their decisions strategically.
Good afternoon from London. Ambassador Karman, Meghna, I'm glad you put that on because I would like to start, Ambassador Karman, with what happened yesterday, as you mentioned, and this needs to be brought to everyone's notice. 2 salient developments overnight, Meghna. Firstly, Germany has summoned the Iranian ambassador in Berlin, who is in absentia, but the Charge d'Affaires was summoned over Iran's actions last evening. And also, yesterday in Germany, Ambassador Carmen, a fifth Chinese national was arrested. 4 are already been apprehended over a Chinese spy ring with reference to checking Leipzig airport aircraft and cargo operations movements, which is the headquarters for Aerologic and DHL Deutsche Post freighter operations. But apart from that, to check on U.S. military dispatches to Israel. And this was a Chinese national who was caught in a sting operation. 4 already have been apprehended, I must point out, and also spying on a German armament company, Rheinmetall. So that's one development from Germany, Meghna. And the second one is that Secretary Austin has instructed the USS Harry Truman also to sail to the Mediterranean, a second aircraft carrier which will join the region, to the USS Abraham Lincoln, which, as I'm on air, is east of the Gulf of Aden, patrolling the Arabian Sea with the Houthi rebels and what they've been up to. Both of them are going to be deployed in the Mediterranean. And of course, we have the US CENTCOM 5th Fleet in Bahrain, permanently stationed at Mina Salman, Bahrain, which will also, I see, come into effect, given that Iran's time-honored tactics of intercepting and disrupting global shipping will take place in the Persian Gulf through the Straits of Hormuz. So that gives you an idea of what has happened overnight, as I pointed out. And yes, you may see the Arab Street cheering in certain quarters like in Lebanon and Gaza. But the stunning silence of the GCC states, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, Bahrain, Muscat, and Doha, is also something telling in that they do not share Iran's enthusiasm, because Iran is flexing itself as a regional hegemon. And Turkey's reactions of Erdogan are historic also, because he is carving for space to get Muslim loyalties, global Muslim loyalties from the Ummah. That needs to be factored in. So it's not just a question of talking about the Lebanese or solidarity with the Palestinians. These are regimes who have their own Muslim access to grime and internal politics and vying for Muslim loyalties in what are essentially, quite frankly, discredited regimes. Turkey is a semi-authoritarian quasi-democracy. Iran is a police state and a theocracy which murders and maims its own citizens. So the fact that it wants to murder and maim Ukrainians by supplying Shahed 136 drones to Russia isn't surprising, or it wants to eliminate Jews, which has been a raison d'etre.
So there are going to be sectarian, political, as well as economic reasons, which may be the decider.
But also ideological, because since the 79 revolution, Iran is wedded to eliminationist anti-Semitism and decimating the Jewish state. That is a raison d'etre of the regime since 1979, besides its anti-Western hostility and posturing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. However, from what Ambassador Carmen has said, as well as Burzine Wakmar, one thing is clear, that any ideas of de-escalations now seems to be a very distant dream. Well, we are going to be tracking the developments very, very closely here on Times Now. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us, giving us a perspective. With that, we slip into a short break.